All right, welcome back to the Shardbreaker podcast. This is episode 8 of Stormlight Archive, The Way of Kings. We did chapter 28 this week, as well as interludes 4, 5, and 6. And then we'll be starting part 3 next week, so let's get straight into it. So, chapter 28 was called... Oh, fuck, I didn't introduce us.
Where's our introductions?
Fuck!
Yeah.
Wow, wow. Bad host, bad host.
Hi, I'm Midnight. I'm the host of the Shardbreaker podcast, and I am here with Mythic
Hi.
Hello.
and Darkness.
Hi.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, let's get into chapter 28, Decision.
Wow.
Decision to not fucking introduce us. Great.
You complained about it previously. You're like, everyone knows us already.
That was a long time ago. I forgot who we were.
Okay.
Okay. Nice.
So we get our final epigraph of this part, which is, "For I have never been dedicated to a more important purpose, and the very pillars of the sky will shake with the results of our war here. I ask again, support me. Do not stand aside and let disaster consume more lives. I've never begged you for something before, old friend. I do so now." So why do you think the writer is so concerned about the war on this planet?
Probably because it's destroying it or something.
Hmm.
You know, the shattered planes and everything.
Hmm.
I'm starting to think that these people are from like the past or some shit.
The letter writing?
Yeah, the people that are like it's called, the beginning of not every chapter, but a lot of these chapters.
Hmm. The epigraphs, yeah.
I was gonna say the interludes.
That's the word. I was too, and then I was like, that's not the right word. But yeah, no, the epigraphs. The people in the epigraphs, I think they're from like the past or something, before the world became what it is.
So you don't think it's related then to the three travelers from that one interlude, like we were talking about last week?
And it could be. It still could be that. I mean, they could have been like finding these papers or something, but
They're just trying to find the avatar.
The writer is the Avatar. So we start this chapter with Adolin's point of view as he watches his father, thinking that he looks fragile. They were overseeing a test of some man-carried bridges like Sadius's. Adolin could tell that his father was stressed, but he didn't think it was obvious to others. He watches as they try to get a siege bridge pulled by chulls across the man-carried bridge, but it doesn't seem strong enough. Taleb seems ready to give up on the man-carried bridges and apologizes for suggesting it, but Adolin says they could keep trying out designs, and Dalinar agrees. Dalinar then looks off towards some workers who are digging a latrine ditch, and Adolin walks over to join him. Dalinar asks why shards weren't made for workers and only for soldiers, to which Adolin replies that maybe war was the most important. Dalinar states that this seems to be a point against the Radiants for not thinking of common people. So do you agree that it's wrong that the Radiants didn't make shards for common men?
it's an interesting question.
I don't like the way he worded it.
Yeah,
that one dude was like, "Oh, the shards are meant to like protect, and now they're just being used for like slaughter."
Yeah. But I did like the way he was like, why can't they make us, basically stronger and all of that? And I'm like, and then he's like, why couldn't they have made tools for other types, of other people? And I'm like, that would have been interesting. It would have been pretty cool. And it kind of makes me wonder if, like, for instance, if a farmer was given one, if they could use it, like, in a different way, like if it could become something different.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just the way that it's shaped because of the people and what they need it for.
That would make sense. Because usually how they get it now is that they fight.
Yeah, but what if that's just the circumstance?
That's what I'm saying. Like, that's how they get it now, which is why it would shape the way it is now,
Yeah, but so if somebody were to just hand like a farmer one, right?
Yeah.
Like, could they manifest
it does a little
in a different way?
transformation into like a hoe.
Yeah, could they manifest into something different?
Yeah, they don't know much about shards, so there could be reasons why they can't find any that work for workers, or there could be maybe they can change form or something.
How long ago were shards discovered in this?
So they've had this. So the shards are basically from the ancient Radiant. So they're from, I think, at least 1,000 or 2,000 years ago is the last time they were actually like they were made by the ancients, is what they say, and like they don't actually know how to recreate them. So these are all just like leftover relics of the past, and they consider like the ancient people to be like super advanced compared to them because they were able to make things like Shardblade and Shardplate.
Sounds a lot like the people who have conspiracy theories about the pyramids.
So Dalinar then asks for an ardent named Ledent and says that they are going to visit the 5th Battalion. As they walk, Dalinar asks if Adolin feels the thrill. It surprises Adolin, but he replies that he does. The conversation ends and they continue past the barracks. Adolin notes that Dalinar had allowed his soldiers, not just the Light Eyes but the Dark Eyes as well, to bring their families to the Shattered Plains, since the camps were never attacked. Adolin says out loud that it was good to allow the soldiers to bring their families. Dalinar mentions that this area might eventually become a town, especially since the gem hearts are here. However, he worries about harvesting so many gemstones and what that will do to the economy. Dalinar tells Adolin that he will have to consider these sorts of things. So what do you think about how the Shattered Plains may eventually become a town once the war with the Parshendi ends?
That'd be pretty cool, to be honest.
It would, but I don't think the Shattered Plains are gonna even stay there.
You don't think so?
I don't think it'll last the war.
So they reach the 5th Battalion, and Adolin watches for a moment the men practicing. Fighting Parshendi was different to fighting other men, which they had learned early on in the war as they lost several battles. Dalinar has Adolin inspect the soldiers, and the battalion lord, Havrim, has each group fall into line for Adolin to inspect, and ask if they had any concerns. There were no concerns, but Adolin wasn't sure if that was true, or if they were just intimidated by him. Dalinar then brings Adolin into the audience tent, where the soldiers that Sadeas had interviewed were. Adolin asks the men what Sadeas had asked them, and the soldiers reply that they didn't tell Sadeas anything. However, Adolin feels like, although the men were being loyal, they probably made it seem like they did think Dalinar did something to the saddle. Adolin asks if they had seen anything with the saddle that day, but they say they didn't, although they hadn't thought that the saddle would be a danger to the king. They also call Sadeas an eel, to which Dalinar corrects that Sadeas is a high prince. So do you agree that the men were too loyal and made Dalinar seem suspicious to Sadeas?
Possibly.
I feel like what would have triggered Sadeas is less that their loyalty made him seem like he actually did something towards it, but it's more like they're worried that their loyalty is making them seem like he has way too much power than he should.
Possible, yeah.
So Dalinar then asks Tedet and Ardent to see if he can get more specifics and exact wording from the soldiers, and then leaves with Adolin. Adolin notes that Dalinar keeps pushing him to lead every conversation, and before Dalinar can answer, they notice some soldiers bringing over a man in Thanadal's colors, and Dalinar's to have a conversation with Thanadal this evening. The Cobalt Guard officer tells Dalinar that the man is a messenger from Thanadal that has come to tell Dalinar that Thanadal will be unable to meet this evening. Dalinar then goes to speak to the messenger directly, not having Adolin take over this time, and asks for specifics about why Thanadal can't meet and when he will be less busy. The messenger replies that Thanadal said that he believes he knows the reason for the meeting and that he isn't interested in working together. Dalinar is upset since besides Sadeas, this was the final High Prince for him to request this of. He tells Adolin that the High Princes are sending a message that they don't like how much influence he has with the king. So what do you think about every High Prince Dalinar has approached rejecting his idea of working together?
Honestly, it's kind of to be expected.
I mean, yeah, kind of. I mean, who would want to work with that guy?
You know, I don't know why he didn't just go for Sadeas first when that one dude told him to.
Yeah, well, he was worried about going to Sadeas first because they are basically the two people who have the most influence over the king, and I think he's worried that it's going to seem like they're kind of like forcing everyone into everything. So Dalinar then tells Adolin to continue doing interviews and that he has something else he's working on. Adolin asks when Dalinar will tell him about things, and Dalinar replies that he will discuss it soon. We then switch to Dalinar's point of view as he thinks that it might be time to hand over his title to Adolin. However, he knows that he can't make this decision rashly. He asks for his warhammer to be fetched as he feels the need to work while he thinks. He then heads towards the staging field, and two men bring the warhammer in a cart and struggle to lift it out for Dalinar. However, in his shard plate, Dalinar easily lifts the hammer with one hand. He then goes over to the men breaking the stone ground apart for a latrine ditch and asks them to take a break before beginning to slam his hammer into the stone. So what do you think of Dalinar deciding to take over the work of cutting out the latrine ditch?
It was interesting. I was hoping that he would finish it.
I mean, his plan was to finish it.
Also, I mean, honestly, I was hoping they would take it as like, oh, like the prince or the high prince or whatever, king or whatever he is. He's like not afraid to be like us, you know. But they're just seemingly taking it as him being crazy. Which honestly, fuck all of them.
I mean, I feel like if I was one of those workers, I'd be like, yes, a break.
Right.
I'd be like, this is great. What did you think about that situation, Mythic?
My back's been hurting.
Honestly, yeah, like it's a break. So yeah, I'd be the same way. I'd be like, yeah, fuck yeah, take it.
Get it.
Well,
So as Dalinar works, he continues to wonder why there aren't shards for ordinary men, as with his shards he is able to do the work of 20. He feels that he is losing his thirst for battle and becoming sickened by seeing the dead, which is a reason to abdicate to Adolin. The laborers watch him as he works, cutting the stone with his blade sometimes before returning to using his hammer. He finds that the work feels good, even though he has more important things that he should probably be doing. Dalinar thinks of the codes and the way he has started living his life, and thinks that others should follow that, and in that way he shouldn't abdicate as he needs to set an example. More people begin to watch him, but eventually Taleb ushers them off, including making the workers go relax as Dalinar had told them to. Dalinar then thinks about how his visions seem unlikely to be true, and that it is ruining his reputation and the reputation of his house, which is another reason in favor of abdicating. So do you think it would be a good or bad thing for Dalinar to abdicate and leave Adolin in charge?
I think it'd be a bad idea.
How
I don't
come?
think Aelin's ready. I don't think Aelin's ready for it.
Probably not, but I don't think they're leaving him much of an option regardless.
No, I don't. I agree.
So,
Well, I think Adolin figures he has more time before he'd have to take over. Like, his dad's, besides, like, the whole vision issue.
well, he kind of forced it himself too. Like,
yeah, the thing is, he's been pushing on that.
it's so dumb. Like, what?
Yeah. Why would you want power? Like, what?
This is why you don't have children.
Adolin just wants to go around flirting with girls. That's all he wants.
Literally.
I mean, once he gets up there, he can have as many mistresses as he wants. I'm sure.
I don't know. Is that against the codes? Actually, I don't think it is.
I don't know.
I don't think the codes are gonna matter if he gets like in charge.
Well, hey, there's a great quote from Hamilton about where Thomas Jefferson gets the presidency, and like, we can change that. You want to know why? Because I'm the president. So he just used the same thing. Oh, the codes don't work? All right, well, you know what? We can fix that. You know why? Because I'm the king.
Well, he's the High Prince.
Whatever.
Right. I've been trying to
would
explain
he-
that so much.
What, High Prince?
Yeah, king for him.
Oh, yeah, I know. I mean, isn't that what they're trying to get him into, though?
No, they're trying to make him High Prince. Elhokar is still
Oh,
king.
okay. Oh, who's Elhokar? Which one's
Elhokar is Navani's son, the dead king's son, Adolin's
he's
cousin,
Oh, okay, I gotcha.
the paranoid guy.
Why I'm confused. Okay,
Yeah. Elhokar's king. Dalinar is just a High Prince.
gotcha. Every time you say abdicate throne, I'm like, oh, the king's stepping down.
So Navani then shows up, asking if Dalinar's Shardblade wouldn't be a better tool than the hammer for getting rid of the rocks. Dalinar replies that picking up the stone cut from Shardblade was difficult, and that using the hammer was better as it made it easier to move the pieces. Navani then reminds him that he missed his appointment with her, to which he apologizes that he had been too caught up in what was going on with Thanadol. Navani then mentions that Yasna is trying to reach Dalinar via Spanreed. Dalinar is excited to speak to his niece, as it had been a while since they spoke, as she often didn't communicate much when she was immersed in a project. Dalinar hesitates for a moment as he had planned to make a decision by the time he finished the latrine ditch, but he decided that speaking to Yasna was more important. He also hoped he could convince her to come to the Shattered Plains. Dalinar leaves his warhammer behind and heads out of the ditch, Navani asking if she could join Dalinar as she hadn't spoken to her daughter in a while, and Dalinar agrees. Navani then tells Dalinar that she finds him fascinating because of how he is acting like the others claim they are. Dalinar thinks she is toying with him, but she says she is not, although she may be taking advantage of him just a little. She then says she picked his brother over him because of how intense and frightening Dalinar had been in the past, and that he'd even scared Gavilar sometimes. Dalinar says that this would not work, and he won't dishonor his brother's memory, and then gets out of the palanquin. So what do you think about Navani kind of like flirting with Dalinar?
I mean, I kind of agree with him. Like, kind of disrespectful.
It really is. I was feeling iffy about it, low key, when I first realized what she was doing. Like,
I mean, I understand it from her point of view. I'm sure she's trying to, put herself up there, but still, it's rather sleazy.
It's like, my husband died. I'm gonna go after his brother now.
to be fair, I'm pretty sure that's the only way they're gonna go up places in that world.
Yeah, they sleep their way up. Yeah, for sure. It's a very sexist society for sure.
I mean, she's pretty much at like the highest point she can be. She's the mother of the king.
Yeah, somehow.
I feel like
I think she
that's
should get
not
better.
necessarily true.
You think she could be higher than that?
I feel like
you think she could be
marriage
with her
to a
son?
king would stand
God.
over being a mother.
Yeah, so she's gonna marry her son. Nice.
Oh God.
I mean,
No,
hey,
she's the one that cut it.
Oh, she wasn't even on the Shattered Plains yet. I don't think.
You don't know that. You don't know that.
I mean, based on what she said, she wasn't here yet.
Okay, but she could be lying.
How'd she get there so fast, huh?
She's been there all along, incognito.
Exactly. She was a spy. Stealthy ninja, that's the word I'm looking for. She was a
You're
ninja.
right. She's
A
a
ninja.
Parshendi or whatever they're called.
Oh yeah, she's a Prussian.
Oh, she's the Parshendi spy? Oh no. She
Oh,
came
goodness.
across the Shattered Plains to get to them.
Mm-hmm.
She was behind the assassination of her husband all along.
Yeah, and she's like, in order to get there, she transformed into one of those creatures.
Oh, I see. She was the Chasm Fiend?
Mm-hmm.
See. So when Dalinar and Navani enter the building, Dalinar notes that Adolin is there. He asks why Adolin isn't still doing interviews, but Adolin replies that he finished that hours ago, as Dalinar hadn't realized how long he'd been thinking and working. Adolin then introduces Dalinar to Danlin, who had just gone to the camp yesterday, and Adolin had already gotten her a job working as one of Dalinar's scribes. Dalinar is shocked by how quickly Adolin has started dating this woman, and tells him he'll need to start courting just one woman eventually, and thinking that Adolin may need to marry soon. However, Adolin dismisses this. Dalinar thinks that he had spent 3 years courting his wife, even if he didn't remember anything about her or that time courting her. So what do you think about Adolin getting a job for this girl that he just met?
I mean, hey, you know.
What do you think about what?
Adolin getting a job for Danlin, who he literally just met.
Mm-hmm.
Priorities, you know?
I mean, hey, you know, boy wears a heart on his sleeve. Ain't nothing wrong with that, you know. Just be ready for heartbreak,
Mm-hmm.
whether it be your heartbreak or theirs.
So Danlin then gets the span reed that is flashing for Dalinar, and it's noted that span reeds are writing reeds with a ruby affixed to them. As Danlin gets the span reed ready, Dalinar notes that she seems the type to attract Adolin, and he hopes that she isn't as vapid as those he usually courts. Which, damn, just dissing all the girls Adolin goes for. Dalinar does not trust Danlin, but he thinks that he doesn't trust any of the women in the camp now that Yasna is gone. The span reed then begins writing, mimicking Jasna's span reed, and writing in her hand. Danlin reads out the message to Dalinar, and he responds with a code to note that he doesn't trust or know everyone in the room with him. Yasna hints that what she is looking for is hard to find even at the Palaneum, and Dalinar replies back that Elhokar had a run-in with a Chasm Fiend, but is okay, and that Navani is here in the war camps. However, he forgets to mention she's in the room, and Yasna replies to be careful around her mother as she bites. Yasna then goes on about her work and about how her work cannot be spoken of via Spanreed, and that she dare not come back and stop her research, but she also doesn't think she can stay away for too long either. Dalinar thinks that Yasna is a Aristotelian, an order of scholars who focuses on getting an unbiased account of the past to help make decisions for the future, although he doesn't really understand how that's much different from normal historians. So why do you think Yasna is so insistent on keeping her project a secret?
Because people are gonna wanna, you know, come after her.
Mm.
It could be like blasphemous or whatever.
You think maybe she's researching stuff and being like, oh, these histories about our religion is wrong, and so
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Possible, yeah. Knowledge is power, so
Yep.
the less you let people know that you have, the better you are, if you're in the knowledge department at least.
So Yasna then asks Dalinar to again tell her about when he first met the Parshendi. Dalinar explains that he and Gabler had gone out and discovered the Parshendi camping near a forest that hadn't been on their maps, near the Shattered Plains. He says they'd been shocked to see Parshmen camped with weapons, and not crude weapons either. Yasna asks if they had Shardblades at that time, but Dalinar replies he didn't see them with any Shardblades until after Gabler's assassination. Yasna then asks about how quickly the Parshendi learned their language, and Dalinar replies that they had somehow learned to speak it in just a few days. Finally, Yasna asks what the first thing the Parshendi asked them about were. Dalinar replies that they were asked about their maps, and Yasna asks if they asked about the Voidbringers, to which Dalinar replies that they did not. Yasna then has Shallan draw a recreation of a picture from a book, which shows what the book says is a Voidbringer. Dalinar and Adolin note that it looks like a Chasm Fiend, although slightly off. Yasna says that she doesn't actually think the picture depicts a Voidbringer, but that whomever drew the picture had drawn the most horrific thing they knew of, which was a Chasm Fiend. So what do you think Yasna wants? Why do you think Yasna wanted to hear about the first meeting with the Parshendi again?
Well, it has to do with the Shardblade, right?
You think she's looking into the history of the Shardblades or something and where they came from?
She's looking into the history of everything there.
Ask the question again, sorry.
Why do you think Yasna wanted to hear about the first meeting with Parshendi again from Dalinar?
Oh yeah, he just wants to get as much information as possible so that he knows how to go forward, that, and I mean they're having Shardblades now, right? So.
Well, they've apparently had Shardblades since the war started.
Yeah, but so you want to try to figure out as much as possible to get to that point. How did they get them? Blah blah blah. It kind of goes against their whole thing, anyways. So.
Mm-hmm. So
Knowledge is power.
Yasmin then says
What
that she.
if?
Oh,
Oh, I'm
sorry. Go
sorry.
ahead. No, go ahead.
What if it is situational,
Mm.
and they had sharp blades, but they weren't in the form of weapons because like they weren't fighting.
Because like they had been so like unknown, so they were just kind of like doing their own little thing off by themselves, so they
Yeah,
weren't
like
like,
what if their like shit was all like farming and like construction and all that shit?
and they just didn't recognize them as farming equipment.
It's not that they didn't recognize it. It's like they had no real reason. Like they
Mm-hmm.
weren't really fighting, were they? Like.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like they when they first met, they were just like randomly exploring this area that they hadn't, no one had really been to.
Hmm.
Uh, and they ran across the Parshmen, and they're like, oh shit, there's Parshmen who actually have like a culture,
Hmm.
and they have like weapons that are, like they're not like barbaric. Like it's not like they seem like they recently became a culture either. Like they have like
Yeah.
more like kind of intricate culture and like weapons and things than we were expecting. So Yasmin
Hmm.
says that sorry, were you gonna say something?
No, I was just saying.
Mm,
Like, yeah, that's like what I was thinking.
yeah. So Yasmin says that she has to go, and Dalinar tries to convince her to come to the Shattered Plains, but she says she can't just yet. However, she does say that she wants to see Chasm Fiend at some point. Dalinar then realizes he had decided that he was going to abdicate at some point between leaving the trench he had been digging and speaking to Yasna. Navani then asks to speak, and Dalinar realizes they are alone in the room together. He places himself where he can be seen through the open doorway to the room so that the conversation is slightly more proper than being alone with her. Navani asks why Dalinar.
Uh-huh. Don't want no rumors flying, you know.
He's like, no, 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 I can't be alone in a room with you. That's not okay.
That is
No,
no.
I can't hold. I can't stop my own impulses, so I have to make sure that other people can see and hold me accountable.
So Navani asks why Dalinar trusts Yasna so much, and he replies that the reasons that people seem to distrust and dislike her make her more truthful in his opinion, as she refuses to join a specific devotee and compromise in her ideals. Dalinar then tells Navani that he plans to abdicate in favor of Adolin in the next few days, and Navani replies that this is a mistake. Dalinar says it's decided, and as she leaves, he thinks that he'll tell Adolin in the morning and announce it at the feast this week. He will then leave to go back to Alethkar. So why do you think
And he wakes up
Navani?
and Adolin's dead.
So why do you think Navani believes that Dalinar abdicating is the wrong choice?
Because she thinks he's not ready.
Mm.
I mean that, and I'm sure she's trying to, somehow get her little fingers in there so she can,
Oh, what?
fire up. So
Why did I want to say grubby paws?
her grubby
God.
paws, her grubby little fingers, She's trying to get her hands on him.
We
And if he
then
doesn't have the power anymore, she doesn't want him.
we then move to Interlude 4, which is Risen. So we move to
We've
Risen's
risen.
we move to Risen's point of view as she steps on the grass in Shinobar, which does not move away from her or react in any way. Vistim, an old Thalen merchant, tells her that surely she's heard of the grass in Shinovar and how it doesn't behave like the grass in the rest of the world. She also notes that the soil is strangely springy, which she doesn't like. Risen then takes a long pole.
Boing, boing, boing.
Risen then takes a long pole from the back of one of the 6 caravans and sets it up, noting as she works that she is more fashionable than her Babsk, and that he makes her wear a glove on her safe hand, which she finds silly. She also notes that legally Vistim is her father until he deems her worthy of becoming a merchant on her own. So what do you think about this apprentice and master merchant relationship?
It's like any other, to be honest. But
It would solve a lot of orphan issues.
orphan issues. Do you have a lot of those problems, Darkness?
You don't?
Being an orphan?
So Risen then sets up a Fabrial that is supposed to warn if someone comes too close to the camp. As Risen sits down and waits, she feels like the land feels dead because of how little the plants move. She also realizes she doesn't see any Spren. Nearby, the servants and guards unloaded the carts and set up camp. Risen then sees the Fabrial begin to pulse, and she calls out to Vistim, who seems happy with the range of the Fabrial. He has his guards lower their bows as they are expecting the people they see coming in the distance. Vistim tells Risen that the main Shin on a horse in fine clothing is a farmer, and that the men in dull brown clothing are soldiers that are traded via small stones. Unlike in other cultures, farmers are considered the most important, and soldiers are lowly and like slaves. As the men approach closer, Vistim speaks in Shin, and he greets the men. One of the men on horseback then speaks in Thalen, greeting Vistim, and asks what he is brought to trade with them. So what do you think about the culture of the Shin, where soldiers are slaves and farmers are like the wealthy people?
I mean, sounds backwards to me, but I mean, so does most of
That's
the whole thing.
well, it's pretty cool. Like
It is neat. Yeah,
it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
it's a weird power dynamic for sure.
Like you want to protect the people that provide, you know.
Mm-hmm. They're very focused on like the people who like provide us food and such are the people who are the most important.
Yes.
So Vista reveals a crate full of metal that had been soulcast from what looks like random garbage. However, the farmer, Thresh, is very excited that the metal was soulcast instead of mined from the rocks. He then shows off some chickens, asking why Vistum doesn't want horses like all the other traders seem to. Vistum just replies that horses are hard to care for and a poor return on investment. Both Vistum and Thresh then downplay the value of their goods. Rhythm is confused by the exchange as the two men somehow come to a deal and make their trade. So what do you think about how the Shin trade and negotiate?
Kinda weird.
What do you think, Darkness?
Yeah, I didn't understand most of it.
They're like, no, my goods are worthless. No, my goods are worthless.
Yeah, right.
My goods are the most worthless.
I feel like I would,
Very
if I
weird.
were there, I would have fucked up and just been like, "My goods are great," and everybody just fucking leaves.
They
I mean,
scoff at
no,
you and just walk away.
honestly, I feel more like if I was there, it would have been like, "Oh, your goods are worthless. Okay, I'll take them from you if you
I'll
don't."
take them all.
Yeah, if you don't like them, I'll take them. Fuck it.
So Viston then asks Thresh about trading a soldier, but Thresh replies he can't trade them to outsiders. Viston then mentions a man that was traded to him 7 years ago, and Thresh replies that the man had been truthless, and that he hopes they never have someone like that to trade again. Viston seems saddened by this, as he regrets trading away the truthless man, as he had been a great servant. So did you guys catch on who the truthless man that Viston
Yep.
had traded was?
Yeah.
So what do you think about the fact that Viston was the person who apparently bought Zeth from the Shin originally?
It's a very weird thing. I mean, it made more sense later when he was like, "I didn't even want to give him up." I'm like, "Yeah, I wouldn't give him up either." Man's priceless,
Right. He's like so.
and he's adorable. So
What were you gonna say, Darkness?
I said he's so useful and everything. Like you could do so much, and clearly we see that later. But
I mean, clearly somebody sees his work.
Also, why do you think that Thresh is hoping he never meets another truthless?
I don't know.
it's a bad thing in the religion, I'm supposing.
I mean, it definitely seems to be. Zeth is not happy about the fact that he's truthless.
Yeah, right. I guess it means like, I mean, doesn't it mean like they did something really bad? That's why they became truthless.
That's what's been implied. We don't. Zeth hasn't given us a lot of info yet. He's kind of just made
How he became that way. Yeah.
Yeah, just that basically it's like a punishment.
Mm-hmm.
So once the Shin head out, Vistum asks Risen what she
Once the
learned.
shithead head out, what?
Shin head out. Risen replies that the Shin are odd, but Vistum corrects her that they are just different. Risen then replies that she learned that the Shin seemed to be humble, and that both the Shin and Vistum had undervalued their goods when negotiating. Vistum seems happy with her response and says to never cheat a Shin man, and that they will love you for being truthful and even undervaluing your wares. Vistum then has Risen get some of the grass as he wants her to care for it until she no longer sees it as strange. Risen finds Viston odd, but thinks that may be why he has the most luck trading with the Shin. She then gets some sturdy gloves and rolls up her dress sleeves as she gets some grass, not wanting to ruin her dress for grass that is stupid. So what do you think about the lessons that Vistum is trying to teach Risen?
What was the lesson?
The lesson was to try and understand other people's cultures, and to like, so that you can be a better merchant, and that like you shouldn't just think of people as like odd and dismiss them. You should like understand their culture and like what is meaningful to them.
I mean, that makes sense. These cats are about to fight. Hold on.
What do you think, Methek, about the lesson that Vistum was trying to teach Risen?
It's a good life lesson to be honest, to just, understand and like maybe not cherish, but like
Not to dismiss other people's cultures.
yeah, exactly. Not to just think that basically yours is the best and then
It's like, oh, it's different.
crazy
It's like
arrogant.
weird because it's different than me. So like, I'm
No.
just gonna not even think about it. He's like, no, you should understand other
Yeah, you
people's
should understand,
cultures.
even if you don't believe in it.
Yeah,
You should
like
understand
understand
it,
and respect their cultures, even if like
Yeah, 'cause
it's
then you
not
get more
something
people.
that matches with what you've always learned.
Yeah, and then you also get more people, and you can sell more shit to people.
Yeah, and you can make all the money.
Yeah, or the money. Well, while we're waiting on Darkness's cats to fight each other.
No, I'm good.
Oh,
good?
okay.
Yeah.
All right, so we move to Interlude 5, Axes the Collector. So Axes the Collector wakes up naked.
Interesting.
He assesses his body briefly, noting the blue toenails, which is a normal color for an Amian man like himself. He then places his head back down on the ground and feels something squish underneath, as well as something that smells like garbage. He rearranges his face so that he can no longer smell in response.
Rearranges his face.
Yep. A man then speaks to
Oh,
Axes, stating that he owes him rent for sleeping in his alleyway. Axes spends a few heartbeats mentally focusing until his headache goes away. He then glances around, noticing tubers placed in some sort of odd pattern, and asks the man in the alleyway if he has any spare pants. Axes doesn't recognize the alleyway, but he doesn't find that strange since he was beaten, mugged, and left for dead. Again.
Again.
So what do you think about the fact that Axes can change his body at will?
It's so weird. I mean, when he said he rearranged his face so he could no longer smell, I was like, what, did you become fucking Voldemort?
He either became
Lose your
Voldemort or I'm
fucking
assuming
nose?
he like sealed up his nostrils or something.
Like, but then the guy that talks to him later, he's just like, doesn't notice that? Like, what?
I mean, the other guy's kind of like,
Weird, yeah. I don't know.
yeah.
To be fair, I'm pretty sure they're like homeless, regardless.
I mean, yeah, the other guy's definitely homeless, but he's
So,
also seems a
like,
bit.
This my
if
area.
you live
you
over
stay
here in
out.
LA
Give me taxes.
and you walk past like homeless people, they'll see the weirdest shit. They won't even care. So
It's like, oh yeah, that man just like changed his nose somehow. It's fine.
probably the drugs talking.
All that fire moss. So Axes then finally remembers what town he's in, and that he's in the country of Iriali. He also notes that he had gotten drunk on purpose, but that he should have chosen his drinking companions better. He inspects the tattoos on his arms as he notes that the man likely doesn't have a spare pair of pants since he's just wearing a sack. The man then tells Axes that he destroyed the Temple of the Northern God along with half of Hapron Street and several homes, although he's really only worried about the temple. Axes then realizes that the man is calling the rotting vegetables that are arranged on the ground the city. Apparently his foot had crushed a bakery, however the residents were away, but unfortunately they were at the temple that Axes had crushed with his head. Axes then says that he's a Voidbringer since he's destroyed a temple and pretends to be scared of a blanket so that he has something to cover himself with. Glad to avoid imprisonment due to public indecency. So what do you think about Axes going along with this random man's delusions about his vegetable city?
I mean, that's kind of funny, to be honest.
It was great.
I loved it, but like, this dude just was weird as shit to me. Man, rearranged his face so he couldn't smell. I was like, the fuck?
What did
The
you think, Darkness?
possibilities, like, is it just the face? Like, is it like the whole body? Like all this shit. Like,
I mean, it kind of made me wonder if it was a lot like, one second. If it was a lot like, wow, I can't think what they're called. The metal mines or whatever, where they could, like, dull things, and put them away, but in Mistborn,
Mm.
it was like, I was like, oh, is this going to be one of those, world hoppers again? Kind of idea. And I was like, probably one of those people who use their abilities like that. Maybe one of the abilities we don't know about is being able to. I guess no, actually, wouldn't Tin do that? Yeah, Tin would have done that. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, where it would have upped his ability to, smell or not smell.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of idea.
But yeah, so as Axes walks down the street, he gets stares, likely because of his blue nails and crystalline blue eyes that are due to him being a Saya Amian, which is a rare
Definitely
race
not
of
his
people.
blue skin.
Or it was because his shadow was cast the wrong direction.
That's the cool thing.
He isn't that worried about people taking him to a magistrate or something, as when you had the Curse of Kind, you just went with what happened. So what do you think about all these little facts about him and Amians that you learn here?
Weird.
I keep wanting to say Homo sapiens. I mean, that's a pretty cool thing. At this point, it sounds like a game more than anything.
Yo,
also,
I better get my whole book.
I also, just a reference that you guys may not remember is, I don't know if you remember, but in Mistborn's Secret History, I believe it is mentioned that in the cognitive realm, your shadow goes the wrong way.
Interesting.
Yeah, so Axios then begins looking over his tattoos, knowing that Amians can change the color and markings of their skin at will, which was useful when you were regularly robbed of everything you owned, including journals. He eventually finds a note near his elbow that mentions seeing Spren that only appear when severely intoxicated. That he'd have,
Sorry.
but he'd have to do further testing to confirm if it wasn't a drunken hallucination. So what do you think about Axies creating tattoos to keep notes?
I told Vince.
Well, you can erase them, right?
Yeah, I believe
Yeah,
you can get rid of
you
them
can
too.
So it
change.
doesn't even matter if like they're permanent or not.
Mm-hmm.
The curse of kind is stalking me.
Yep. So Axiom wonders what he should call this Spren, and that he had been researching all of the Spren on Roshar. He then makes his way towards the docks, where he sees people gathering on a viewing platform. At exactly 7:46, a spren that looks like a giant blue jet of water comes out of the bay, and Axies makes notes about it as a tattoo on his leg. The Iriali call it Kusakesh, the Protector, and some worship it as a god. Axies thinks that it's strange to have only one of a type of spren. He wonders what type of spren it is. It forms arms and fingers and a face that changes quickly through different human faces as it looks towards the origin. So what do you think about this strange, unique spren?
I've already met one. It's strange and unique. Another one isn't that
What if he's a spren, huh?
him? No, he's not a spren.
Or not?
He's apparently something else.
He's a
I mean, he's a
Cyanian.
spren. Yeah, he's a something. That's for sure. He's a something.
Oh. As this spren disappears after about 10 minutes, a street urchin steals the blanket wrapped around Axies' waist and laughs as they throw it at their friends. 4 guards quickly come towards him, and Axies wonders if he'll finally see some captivity spren, as they have evaded him despite his numerous incarcerations. He thinks that he did well today, and that it may only take a few more centuries to complete his work. So how old do you think Axies might be, and what do you think about his work?
I think he's at least 2,000 years old.
Yeah, it's great. So young.
I mean, he looks young.
I don't know why, but I always pictured him as like an older bald guy.
Wow. I mean, didn't he say he had hair?
I think he does, but yeah, I don't know why. In my head, I always thought of him as like this older guy, or at least he was balding.
No,
The hell?
Well, because
if you could change your body features, you can give yourself hair.
yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, I mean, and if you could change your body features, why wouldn't you look fucking, pristine? Why would you be old?
Right.
All right, our final
My two of my
interlude,
favorite.
a work of art. So we move to the point of view of Zeth Sun Villano, Truthless of Shinovar, as he crouches in a gambling den. He's standing on a ledge hidden up by the shadows and wearing black like his current master, Makek, prefers, as he likes the drama. Some men nearby were rubbing fire moth between their fingers, which was said to make their minds more open, but by the time Seth had tried it, he just got a headache and blistered fingers. In the middle of the gambling den was a bar, and the barmaids had dresses with plunging netlines, slits in the side, and nothing covering their safe hands. The games being played at the gambling den were games that were not anything resembling guessing the future, since that was against foreign teachings. Zeth finds this strange that they think nothing of walking on stone, using stormlight for illumination, or eating certain foods on certain days, but that they find it bad to try and guess the future. So what do you think about the things Zeth considers a sin versus what the Voron kingdoms do?
Sorry, I'm thinking.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, Sam. What do we think about what? Ask us again real quick.
What do you think about the things that Zeth considers a sin versus what the Voron kingdoms do? So like Zeth is like, I don't understand the whole safe hand thing, I don't understand like the guessing the future thing, but they'll walk on stone and use stormlight for like lighting. Like, and that he finds that like super out there.
Almost seems as if he knows something that other people don't about Stormlight.
Mm.
I think it's generally his religion, but also like I feel like all of these consist of stuff like I don't know, I feel like they're tied to the other world stuff.
So after being away from his homeland for so long, he was starting to question some of his culture's religious ideas, although that was dangerous because then he might question his status as truthless. Zeth notices Makek with 2 women, and that the men he had been with previously had been killed by Zeth under Makek's orders, so that the secret of the Oathstone didn't get out. Makek then makes a gesture at Zeth, and Zeth gets down from the ledge and makes his way across the gambling den, the patrons stopping their games to watch him. Apparently a rival gambling den had opened, and the man didn't believe the rumors about how dangerous Zeth was, to which Zeth thinks the rumors are incorrect because he is far more dangerous than they give him credit for. So what did you think about Zeth's current master, Makek?
No, because it sounds a lot like Macaque.
Not that.
It's all I could think of whenever they said the name. I was like, that was a poor choice of naming.
Well, I mean, he doesn't stick around for long.
No, but it's still a poor choice of naming. It's a name like Macaque, you weren't gonna stick around long.
You make
I think he used him very effectively for what he his knowledge was. Just unfortunate that somebody else knew more about who he had in his employ.
What did you think, Darkness, about Makek?
That's the dude. Fuck, I can't remember.
It's the dude
That's
with
the dude that got
women.
in that alleyway, right? Or
No.
whatever it was.
Oh yeah, in Zeth's previous
Yeah.
chapter. Yeah. That's where he
No,
meets
I
Makek.
mean, we knew he would end up somewhere like this.
Yeah, eventually.
Apparently he got Zeth to kill off his friends that were there with him. So Zeth makes his way through the town into the richer section and up to the city lord's mansion. He uses Stormlight to get over the wall, lashing himself so he can run up and down the wall. He thinks that it would be easy to kill the guards nearby, but he was only told to kill the owner of the new gambling den, and thus he would preserve as much life as he was allowed. He gets up onto the roof and uses his Shardblade to cut a hole into the roof so that he can jump inside the building, lashing himself. First he lashes the piece of stone off into the distance in hopes of it not hurting anyone when the Stormlight faded, and the rock fell back to the ground. Zeth then lashes himself to the ceiling of the room before jumping down to the ground and lashing himself back to the ground as normal. Zeth had at first tried not to use his Shardblade, but as Makek had given him harder and harder tasks, he'd been forced to use it. Now there were rumors, and Zeth thought it wouldn't be long before Makek began to ask about the blade. However, Zeth was not allowed to give it up, and if he died, Shin Stone Shaman would come to retrieve it from whoever had killed him. What worried him the most was people hearing about him and realizing he was the assassin in white, and then Alethkar going to war with Yaakoved and thousands dying. So what do you think about Zeth's fears about I can't speak. Zeth's fears about his Shardblade and who he is getting out?
Yeah, it's very warranted, I'm sure. I don't know. I just like Zeth very much. Quickly becoming my favorite character in this book.
I mean, yeah, it makes sense to fear like that when you don't really want to do all that shit, but
Where's my Zeth picture? I need to go back and thirst for Zeth.
So as he wanders through the mansion, Zeth thinks it's suspicious how quiet the place is. He creates a decoy by lashing a wooden doorknob with a curtain over it, and sees if any guards attack it. However, none do, but the leaking stormlight from the decoy causes him to see the head of the man he was meant to kill. As he enters the room, a voice calls him Zeth's son Naturo. The voice states that Zeth is wasted on the task that Makek gives him, that Zeth is a work of art, and the man speaking is an enjoyer of the arts. So what do you think about this man who's been watching Zeth and knows enough about him to know his father's name?
Cool. And once again, it is was foreshadowed that somebody would come along that knew more.
he only knows because that is his father.
Oh shit.
Just I don't know.
Yeah, Zeth has always been going by his grandpa's name, Seth Son Villano. This guy's calling him Seth Son Naturo. So Zeth tells the man not to use his father's name, as his father should not be associated with someone like him. The man praises what Zeth did in Alethkar, but Zeth says it was horrible and begins to walk out of the room. However, the man drops the head of Makek, who apparently had been killed as soon as Zeth left the gambling den. The man says that he works for Zeth's new master and shows Zeth his O-stone. Zeth instantly gets on one knee and asks what his orders are. The man says there's a list of their master's orders. It was a list of 24 names of extremely influential men, including 6 high princes and the king of Yaakoved. The man says that it's time for Zeth to stop wasting his talents, and he soulcasts a wall into smoke. Before the man left, he said that Zeth was to use the same tactics he had in Alethkar, and that once he was done with the list, he should receive more orders. Zeth thinks that this was the worst outcome, to have someone who understood his capabilities holding his Oathstone. He thinks that the world would shake. So what do you think about this new task that Zeth has been given?
Crazy. And I swear
It's
practically
what he was
impossible.
born for.
All right. Overview questions. Do you think that Yasna is going to come to the Shattered Plains anytime soon?
Yeah.
She's gonna have to.
What do you think will happen in regards to Dalnar's abdication?
The world will shake.
Well, I had a theory
yeah?
that he's just gonna get like imprisoned or like sent as a slave. Found
Oh,
guilty
you think
for,
like some bad shit's gonna happen to Dalnar?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Possibly, yeah. And then that's how he'll meet Kaladin. You know?
They get married.
Oh gosh.
Or
Hmm?
you know what? Let me not go down that route again.
Yeah, let's not. Also, do you think we'll see Risen or Axes again?
I don't know. Until you showed me these pictures, I didn't really care to see either one of them, but now I want to see Axis again.
Me too.
Also, what do you think about the fact that there are still unknown Spren in Roshar?
Oh, it makes sense. Like, it seems that even depending on what location you're in, there's gonna be different things about the world there in general.
Hmm.
Like the grass thing or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And the like oxygen levels and all that shit. Like it makes sense for there to be like different sprints. So.
Do you have any thoughts, Mythic?
I just kind of want to see all the spread now.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see them all put in like a big collage of all of the spread that exists.
There a collection that we can see after
yeah.
or whatever.
I mean, after all, he is the collector. Axie's the collector. So is he collecting spread? Maybe. I mean, that's what I'm wondering of what he's collecting aside from tattoos.
Well, he's collecting Spren. The
Yeah.
figuring out all the
So
Spren.
yeah, but like, where is he putting them then?
I don't
He's
think he's like
collecting
actually
them.
grabbing them. I think he's like collecting knowledge of
Minting
Spren.
them?
Is he melting them into his body or something? He can apparently change his body structure, so maybe he has the ability to make cages inside his body.
Also, considering Zeth's list has 6 High Princes on it, do we think Sadeas or Dalinar is going to be on this list? Like someone like we know?
Mm-hmm. For sure, that's how they all meet.
Oh, that'd be interesting. I didn't even think about that.
Because it sounds like Zeth's story at some point may collide with Dalinar's story, and possibly Kaladin, since Kaladin is
What
in
if
the
it's
same
already?
area.
What if it's already colliding though? What if he is the one that cut the thing?
Well, I don't think. I think these interludes are supposed to be pretty much in like chronological order with like where they are in the book.
Oh,
So I don't think he
okay.
would have had the
Okay.
orders
I
yet.
thought maybe it was like because it's an interlude. I thought maybe it was like before.
No, I think they're supposed to be mainly happening at the same time as where we are in the book.
Okay.
That might mean there
There
were
goes my
multiple
theory.
assassins after like Elhokar or something.
Yeah, there goes my theory.
But yeah, do you guys have any other theories for where we're going to be going in part 3? Moving on.
Not really. I don't.
Yeah, no. Maybe no.
What were you gonna say?
No, I have no idea. I was gonna say maybe it's like this is where like it begins to like tie some characters, you know?
Hmm.
Because I'm assuming that when what's her name goes to the camps or whatever, that's when
Yasna.
yeah. What's the other one's name?
Shallan.
There you go. That's where she meets him, the Dalinar or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. And then I want Kaladin to get assigned for some reason to their bridge.
Hmm. Well, do you think that maybe since all of Dalinar's plans have kind of fallen away, do you think maybe he's going to try getting Sadeas to work with like him or with Adolin once he's abdicated?
What's Kaladin's like High Prince ruler thingy
Sadeas.
or whatever? So yeah, that's how it's gonna go.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're gonna not merge. Like they're gonna give it a try or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Go on a little date, and then he's gonna meet Kaladin there, and then he's gonna be like, "I don't want you, I want him." So yeah.
I mean, Silly seems pretty interested in Dalinar. She keeps bringing him up, like, the men say that this guy's really honorable. Kaladin's like, nah, he's a fucking light eyes.
Light eyes are all bad. Bad light eyes. Bad.
So next week we will be starting part 3, which is called Dying. Which, great title. Sounds great, right?
Mention in
somebody's
the
dying.
way like you dye like tie-dye t-shirts.
For sure.
Yeah, totally.
And it says that the main POVs are going to be Kaladin and Shallan for this part.
Mm-hmm.
We'll specifically be reading chapter 29 through 33 next week.
God damn.
We'll be reading another 4 chapters. Or is that 5?
Yep. Another 5 hours,
5 chapters.
Yeah. So. Hour a chapter.
So yeah, and then it'll be a bit longer. This one was a bit of a short episode, just because the next chapter was 21 pages, and I didn't want to make that like this episode was either going to be shorter or way too long, and so I was like, slightly shorter is better than like fucking super long.
I mean, this is like an hour shorter, but yeah, sure.
Yeah, well, some of our episodes have been like an hour and a half. It's like, yeah,
a
bit shorter, but yeah. So look
This
forward.
is fine.
Look forward to next week as we start chapter 3, part 3. And we'll go back to more of Shallan's chapters. Find out more about her trying to steal the Soulcaster. So yeah, thank you all so much for listening. We really appreciate it, and have a good day. Bye!
Bye.
Bye.